Okay, we're in our study guides for option B, IB Physics. This is labeled 6 in my file, but I think it's labeled 2 in your file. So we've got a figure skater spinning around at 4.5 radians per second on the ice. Her arms are outstretched, maybe her leg too. Her body just basically, if you draw her, here's her foot, there's a leg, here's an arm, there's an arm, and she's spinning around like this. But is her mass concentrated close to the axis of rotation or far? Well, the way she's configured now, there is more mass at greater distances. Moment of inertia is the product of mass and distance squared from the axis, the pivot axis. So if she suddenly brings her body in, brings her arms and legs back in like this, then now, as she spins, her moment of inertia just changed. And that's exactly what this question says. It says her arms are outstretched such that her moment of inertia is 85 kilograms meters squared. She then pulls her arms in beside her body, right by her, by her torso, reducing her moment of inertia to 73. I'm going to call this I initial, and this is I final. And we've seen this before, right? Calculate her new angular speed. Before we do anything else, should the new omega, this is omega initial, new, that's going to be the final, should the new omega be bigger or smaller? Don't think about physics, think about what you've seen. Well, in case you haven't seen this, I've got a video. So here we are. This is Natalia Kanonikova, I believe is how you say her name. Here it is, Kanonikova. And this is apparently the world record. And if you're wondering how I found this video, I'll show you my YouTube, my Google search in a second. So here's what happens. She's going, here she comes, you're getting ready for the spin. She's going kind of slow, not really, but she brings her arms in, and look at how fast she's going. 308 revolutions per minute. You could calculate that value. I should probably have you calculate it, but we're not going to worry about that right now. If you wonder how I found this, skater spinning, brings arms in, goes faster. Yes, a little goo-goo-foo there for you. So how do we find her new angular speed? Well, we have to use conservation of momentum, not conservation of linear momentum. That's what we do if you have, two carts and they collide. And there's some mass, some initial speed for object A, some initial speed for B. You remember this, and then you find their final speeds, VA, VB, when they're like flying off in opposite directions. We are not going to find we're not going to conserve linear momentum. We are going to conserve angular momentum, which gets the letter L. Now, linear momentum is mass times velocity. So this is a vector. L is also a vector. Oops. That's going to be mass, or moment of inertia, times velocity, or angular velocity. So when we do this conservation, we have on the left the initial I times the initial omega, and on the right the final I times the final omega. We know this value, I initial, is 85. We know the initial angular speed, 4.5. This is 73. That's our unknown. So we solve. Okay, number 3, the seesaw problem. The seesaw problem, where they forgot to tell you the mass of the seesaw, which we'll just assume is 45, and where, if you read this, how long is this seesaw here? Well, they say it's 4 meters long, and it's supported at its center of mass. So the fulcrum, the wedge, splits this thing up into 2 meters and 2 meters. And if you look closely, the kid here is 2.3 meters. The kid is off the seesaw, apparently, somewhere out here. Okay, we're going to ignore that. That should be like, oops. This should be something like 1.7, but we're not going to change it. We'll just leave it 2.3. Why not? We'll do the exercise. It doesn't make sense physically, but we can still calculate the answer. Okay, calculate the angular acceleration. Well, we know that these people exert gravity forces on the seesaw. We know that there's a gravity force for the seesaw itself. And we know that this wedge, or fulcrum, pushes up with some giant force. Wedge. The gravity force of this parent is, well, what's her mass? It's 65. So we do 65 times the 9.81. The gravity force of the child is, oh, we already know that. The child's weight, or gravity force, is that many newtons. When we multiply mg, that's the weight, or the gravity force, in newtons. So we have forces, and moreover, we know how far those forces act from the pivot. Force, R, that's torque. We can find net torque. We can find moment of inertia, because they tell us the formula when it's rotating about its end. We're going to have to think about that. So we know moment of inertia. And from the formula, Newton's second law, we can find the acceleration. So we have to consider the fact that the parent produces a counterclockwise torque, or anti-clockwise, and so that's positive torque. The kid produces negative torque. So when you add up the torques, you've got the parent's force. How far is that force from the pivot axis? Well, the pivot axis would pass through this point. So what's this distance? 1.1. That's a positive torque. Then we've got the negative torque from the kid. Oh, I'm missing sine theta. Kind of. What's the angle between this position and this force? The angle between F and R is 90 degrees. Then we have to subtract FR sine theta for the kid. So the kid's force that she exerts on the beam is her gravity force. How far is she? 2.3 meters from the pivot axis, right? She's off the seesaw. And what's the angle between her downward force and this rightward position vector? It's 90 degrees. All of that is equal to the moment of inertia times alpha. So when you go find the moment of inertia, clearly we've got some mr squared for the parent, some mr squared for the kid, but then we have to add up the moment of inertia. We have to include the moment of inertia for the beam itself. Now this beam has been split in half by the wedge. Not literally, just kind of geometrically. They give us the formula when a beam is rotating about its end, when this is the pivot right here, and it's rotating, the whole thing is rotating about one of the beam's ends. So you cannot just use the entire length in this formula. We have to imagine that this on the left is one beam whose length is 2, and here on the right is another beam whose length is 2. And how much of the beam's mass? 45. How much is over on the left? Half of it. How much of the beam's mass is on the right? Half. The beam has uniform density. There isn't more mass on the left than the right. So, okay. So we are going to have to split this up into two different beams, each one rotating about the purple end, or the blue end that I just marked. Now it's purple. Now it's red. Okay. That's the process. The parent's mass is 65. And how far is the parent from the pivot? We said she was 1.10 meters away. The kid's mass, we don't know that yet. We know her weight. Her weight is 295. G is 9.81. So her mass is 295 over 9.81. How far is she from the pivot? 2.3 meters. The first beam is the green one on the left, so let me use green. Its mass is 22.5. I use the 1/3 because that's the formula when the beam is rotating about its end, just like this picture shows. And what's the length L of that left green beam? Don't forget to eat your green beams. That's funny. Funny when you're on cold medicine. Okay, what's the length? It's half the total length, which is 2 meters. And we have the exact same thing on the right side for the blue half. Again, the length of the blue half is 2 meters because the wedge cuts the whole thing in half. And what's the mass? Half the total mass, 22.5. And we calculate this, plug in your value for I right there, plug in the net torque. Oh, we already did on the left. We know I, calculate alpha. Explain why the angular acceleration changes when the rod starts to tilt. Now, normally, if they just say it changes, you would be expected to state, does the acceleration increase or decrease? So let's think through this. Here's the rod a little bit later. The rod? Did they change it to a rod? I thought it was a beam, a green beam. Well, okay, this should be beam. And the parent is here. The child is here. Hopefully she hasn't been flung off of the seesaw. And they still exert downward gravity forces, right? And the gravity forces have not changed. I'll just call them F1 and F2. Moreover, their position vector R, that hasn't changed either. They're still the same distance from the pivot. But the angle between F and R has changed. Let's make up a value for the sake of argument and say the seesaw is tilted by 10 degrees. Well, this is more than 90 degrees. How much more? 10 degrees more than 90. And the kid's theta is 10 degrees less than 90. So when you go to calculate the new acceleration, net torque, this is Newton's second law, equals I alpha, you will plug in F1, the same F1, R1, the same R1, sine 100. And you'll subtract the kid's torque, because it was clockwise, F2, R2, sine 80 equals I alpha. This is this, yeah, we'll come back to that. Think here for a moment about your unit circle. Where is sine theta at a maximum? Sine theta, sine is the y value. So right there, that's where our y value is at a maximum. That's at theta equals 90 degrees. If you step 10 degrees to the right and you get 80 degrees, or you step 10 degrees to the left to 100, you have a symmetric step on both sides, and you get the exact same y value. In other words, the sine of 90 plus 10 is equal to the sine of 90 minus 10. Because you've made a symmetric step around a uniform, circle with constant radius. So you can actually, the sine 100 and sine 80 are equal. I'm going to factor them out. And now I have sine 100, I'll just call it sine 100, F1 R1 minus F2 R2 equals I alpha. And I could divide both sides by I if I wanted. And here's how I would calculate the new alpha. But look at this formula. We have not changed F1 or F2. The weights of the kid and parent are the same. We haven't changed R1 or R2. They're still the same distance away. They're not sliding in. We haven't changed the moment of inertia. The only thing we have changed is we're multiplying by sine of 100. And the sine of 100 is less than 1. So alpha will decrease. And the reason is because if the angle is no longer 90, that decreases the net torque, and that then will decrease alpha according to Newton's second law.